them all the time, but Ron, you had a story or two to tell about having to go live with them in the summer, right?
Yeah.
The rest of you get ready.
Well, how many of you got to spend any time with Grandma and Grandpa on a regular basis? Grandpa was a loving sort, wasn't he? He was strict. Any place he would go, I would go. And we were out in the shop once, and he used a soldering iron, which was, you just heated it over an open flame, and that was what he did. Well, I was probably asking him too many questions, and he handed me the soldering iron, and he handed it to me with the hot end. And needless to say, some of the words of German I learned were Dummkopf, Schweinhund, and Jackass. So I ran in the house after that experience, and Grandma put some salve on my hands and told me I need to pay more attention. I would go out in the fields with him, and he would be in the tractor, leaving me in the pickup. Well, that's how I kind of learned how to drive. When the tractor would cross the hill where he couldn't see what I was doing, I would start up the pickup and put it in gear, and because it was a standard transmission, go forward and see him coming back, and I'd sneak it back and sit there and wave at him when he got to the end. I happened to throw it in reverse and took out a fence post. And so in the interims of him coming and going, I spent a lot of time back there trying to fix that fence post. But he taught me to drive. He taught me to drive that international pickup. And he had, the roads out there are not the smoothest, and they're very washboard. And I don't know, we got along pretty good, but we were driving along and I'd hit some of these washboards, and he finally looked at me and he said, "Why don't you just hit them all?" So I did. We got back to the house and stopped the pickup, put it in gear, turned it off. Grandpa got out of the passenger side and walked in the house. And after I'd shut the pickup off, I started to go in the house, and Grandpa stepped out and informed me I'd probably better not go in the house for a while. But he never raised a hand to me. He never threatened me. Never heard "I love you," but there was no doubt in my mind he did. It was, believe it or not, it was probably the greatest summers I ever spent. I found out if you put mulberries on you as war paint, they don't come off. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Tim was there, I was there, and we decided that we would strip down like Indians, okay? And we were in our underwear, and we got the mulberries, and we painted our face, and then we painted our bodies. And this was a Saturday.
Oh.
And y'all know on Sundays,
You got church?
I could feign sickness, I could do anything I want. I was going to church. So luckily, I was allowed to put on clothes, but we walked into church, and Tim and I had this mulberry juice. And I remember the folks just looking. Grandma didn't say a word. Grandpa didn't say a word. We just sit in church. But that man in church, Grandpa, because my understanding is Grandpa learned to read from the Bible. That is how they taught them when he was growing up. So we had a pastor, a visiting pastor there at Blue Cliff, and he happened to make the mistake of standing up and saying, "As it says in the Bible." Now, if you just paraphrased and said, you know, the Bible says this, but he said, "As it says in the Bible," and he misquoted. And Grandpa stood up during the sermon, stood up and informed him he was in error.
Oh.
And he said, "If you will turn to the book And the pastor turned to the book and he said, now read it as it's written. And Grandpa sat back down. He was a man of strong, quiet faith. He was a disciplinarian. But he was a good teacher. But I loved my summers out there. Got to spend time with Junior and Uncle Johnny and Aunt Gladys. And that's where I was kind of blessed, because I got to know my Colorado cousins. And I grew up with my Kansas cousins because we all lived in Hutch. And I missed a lot. And in fact, I think it was one of the first cousin reunions that I got to visit with Uncle Albert's children, and was educated in the fact that there weren't 12 children. I thought there were 12. There was Darwin and Eugene, and found out that it's the same name. And then there was
Bill.
yeah, and so by the time I was straightening it all out, y'all didn't have that many kids. But I really missed out on that in the fact that y'all were Michigan kids, I think, at the time. And I didn't get to spend any time at all with y'all. I envy the fact that Jason's got to know y'all, and Jim and Julie have been out, and others of you've gotten to know. But I've learned so much in going through the family history. You know, Aunt Nita was actually Aganitha, and that's why it's nice to see that we have Nita here. And someone said that Aunt Nita changed her name to Nita from Aganitha.
I have a note to that effect.
Yeah.
Legally, yeah.
Yes, legally. So what I read about this, and you talk about blue eyes. One of the first times Lana met Uncle Albert was out in Colorado in Uncle Johnny's funeral.
And he has a striking blue eye.
And Lana couldn't quit commenting on the fact that Uncle Albert had the most piercing, beautiful blue eyes. And it's just so neat when you get to see the cousins from that side. These things are important. I am so sorry I missed California, and so sorry I missed the Idaho. But if I'm not mistaken, is this the 8th?
That's close. Who
What?
remembers the first one?
2 in Kansas. Well, the first one I think was at Jason's, wasn't it?
No, the first one we did in Hutchinson.
That was right. It was Hutchinson. We had it out there. So we've had 2 in Kansas.
Had passed away.
That's
during
right.
that time.
That's right. Thank you.
We
So we've
done-
had 2 in Kansas, 3 in
We done one
Colorado.
in Colorado Springs.
Colorado,
We
yeah,
have
3 in
one
Colorado, 1 in
in
Idaho, 1 in
Colorado Springs.
California.
I think the one in Colorado Springs, we had it at our house one night, and then we moved to Colorado Springs, or I think it might have been the same one.
Okay.
I know that's where we had the dinner and everything was in Colorado Springs.
Yeah.
And then
That's
they
right, that's
come
right.
out and visit and tour the
Yeah.
place out there.
Okay, that's what I was
We knew
thinking.
all of them before Aunt Bertha passed away.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. But now, of all of my aunts and uncles, the only one, and this includes my mom and dad, the only person that when they were coming through would stop and spend the night with Lana and I was Aunt Bertha
And Uncle Brian.
and Uncle Brian. And that was so special, because if you live in Dodge City, Kansas, you're not on the way to any place. And that's certainly not gonna be your destination. It'll never be mine again.
Not
But
unless
that-
you're driving cattle.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
But that was so special to us. And Aunt Bertha had taught me a valuable lesson growing up. At my birthday every year, Aunt Bertha would send me a silver dollar. And that was great. And I can't remember what age it was that I got a birthday card from her. And there was no silver dollar. And the reason was I hadn't shown appreciation for the previous silver dollars. And it's a tough lesson when you're that age, but boy, it's an impactful lesson. And it teaches you a lot. So as I gleaned a lot from, it's a fascinating family in the fact that there were 5 from the first, 5 from the second, and at no time when I was growing up did I ever hear anything about a half brother or a half sister, ever. And the way these siblings hung together in the worst of times, and some pretty hectic situations, but they never quit loving each other. And they spent time, I mean, Mom and Aunt Frida went up to Michigan to live with Uncle Albert and Aunt Virginia, and the objective was to go to school up there. We found out it cost money. So Mom worked in the ammunition plants, Aunt Frida nannied, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Aunt Bertha was there too. Aunt Bertha or Aunt Nita, but I think it was Aunt Bertha. Aunt Bertha. And I don't know what she did.
The Free Press, something Free Press she worked at.
But there they were, all there, these siblings, and no haps here or haps there. And that in today, that's amazing. And back then, that's just phenomenal. But I've got some wonderful, wonderful experiences with this family, and missed out a lot with the Michigan kids. But these gatherings are pretty important. In fact, you get to know each other. You think to figure everything out the first time or the second time or the fourth or the sixth, but each year you find something out, and to be blessed, so very blessed to have Uncle Benny here.
Amen.
I mean,
Yep.
it's like Jim said, this is it. Uncle Benny's the last, and if we don't find out from him what happened, you know, we're just not going to find out. Anyhow, that's all I got.
Anybody else that lived out there?
Anybody else that's been somewhere out there have anything to add, or?
Well, I know Linda and I spent some time out with Grandma and Grandpa quite a bit too. And I can remember, you know, because you always had to wash the dishes, you know. Linda definitely got in trouble for using the rainwater.
Definitely.
And really big time in trouble. And then I can remember us
Always in
standing
trouble.
there washing the dishes, and Grandpa in his, remember that rocking chair right next to the furnace? He'd be rocking. You girls, you go sing now. Sing. Okay. So we'd start singing, you know, but that's one memory that I do remember quite vividly. You know, you sing. And it's always, you sing now.
Never asked me to sing.
I remember when we had to clean out his Milo bin or something, and there was some stinking little mice everywhere. And Maria and I were freaking out. He walks in there with this broom. This is what you do, and he's slapping it.
Oh.
It was really funny. Now you think about it, but
It wasn't funny.
we're like, oh my.
So, and we'd always tap dance. Remember that great big old tree, that dead tree that he cut off? You know, by those bins, and Linda and I would sing and tap dance on that tree.
Now, was he still, he would smoke his cigarette with the cigar?
Oh, yeah, he smoked a cigar going to church,
No,
to town, and but he always smoked it to church too. Linda and I,
See,
and that
I
long
remember him
cigarette
smoking
after
that.
lunch. Yeah, and
cigarette.
after, yeah, because he'd have his one beer and one
Yeah,
cigarette
and it was
after
a Walter's
supper.
beer.
Yeah.
He never drank all of it. He would put it in the refrigerator, and after he would go down, because he took a half an hour nap after lunch each time before we go out in the field, Grandma would get in there and take a sip of that Walter's beer. Yes, she would. But he always sat there, and he would read his German newspaper and smoke a cigarette. I remember him taking the time to put it in the holder, long holder like this, and sit there and smoke that.
Roll it.
And at the time, I was a real history major. You know, I really loved history, especially World War II. And that man would infuriate me. He would tell me that Nazi stood for National, and they were in the right, and we had no right to be over there. And I know full well he was just pulling my chain, and it worked. So he had an ornery streak too.
Ron, you spent time around him. What do you have to say?
He was, if you didn't do it his way, you heard about it real quick. And he only told you once. He was fun to be around.
What do you remember about Grandma?
She was worse than he was.
Meaning?
The way, she was a little bit stricter.
Oh.
You didn't get into anything. You didn't go snooping around like kids do.
Yeah.
You guys must have mellowed her out. For us.
Oh, by the time she went back there, yeah, she's completely different.
She had
Linda and I
a,
snooped in everything.
she had a leather strop back there. You remember that old hump trunk
Oh.
that sat by the
Right.
north window?
Yeah, the kitchen window,
Okay,
yeah.
she had that leather strop there.
Uh-oh, y'all met the strop, huh?
And she was, that was, yeah, we do. We've got the
You
strop.
hid it behind that cabinet.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
When they moved the cabinet, they found the straw.
Yep, I have his uncle, she called it Otto.
Oh, Fritz?
Fritz,
Fritz.
Fritz.
Fritz,
Oh, Fritz.
because she threatened me with using Fritz on me. And boy, looking at that leather strop, so I figured, if it's not there, I can't have it used on me. So I guess y'all found it when the sale happened. You found it behind the cabinet. And I have Fritz now. Fritz is hanging in my basement.
But that was the name of the razor
That
strop.
was the razor strop, yeah. I didn't.
Uncle
if I didn't-
Fritz,
yeah.
Uncle Fritz.
Fritz would, she let me know Fritz, so.
I know I got in trouble with her really bad. I thought I was helping her out,
Uh-oh.
you know, but you know how they measure every little tenth of water that comes in? Well, I thought it'd be a great idea to just surprise her and just fill all those suckers up. So I ran all over everywhere and filled all the rain gauges to the very top.
Oh.
And boy, did I get in trouble for that.
I'm gonna have to go
So who needs to go with him or help him up or?